Hey folks, welcome back. I'm Dave and we're here in my shop where I build Ewor guitars. This is going to be episode number 14 of the CNC guitar building series I'm doing where we're making this guy right here. As most of you know that have been watching along, I'm fairly new to CNC work. I've had it for probably less than a year now. This is, I think, my third guitar I'm making on a CNC. I have a Shark HD 510 and I'm using Vectric V-Carve, and I'm taking you all on my journey learning how to use all that stuff. So anyway, in this particular video, we are going to finish up with the CNC machining on this guitar. And I've got a few different things to do. I've got my truss rod cover, which is going to be this round guy up here that I got held on with magnets. Got to make that, and we're going to have a little decoration in there. I've got my back plate cover going on the back with also magnets in it. And I've also got this guy right here, which is basically just a decoration. It's going to look like a tailpiece, but this is a string through guitar. But I'm going to make this guy right here. Now that's just a piece of MDF. I was doing some testing yesterday, and but I'm going to make that out of Zero Coat. Now, if you watched the very first video of this series, you'll know I talked about making that tailpiece out of a piece of brass, which I bought this piece of brass for that. It's an 1/8 inch thick, and I thought that would really look cool since I'm using brass hardware on this thing. I thought that'd be pretty cool. But then the more I looked at it, the more I thought, you know, that's going to be too much brass. And I don't want to go too far in any one direction. So instead of brass, I thought I would make that part out of this piece of Zero Coat I have left from this inlay. And I think that's going to look pretty cool. Okay, so the first thing I want to start working on, I think, is this little tail piece, which I did the sample of yesterday out of this MDF. I had it stuck on my guitar with a little piece of double-sided sticky tape so I could see what it looked like. But that's the guy I want to make right here. So there it is. It's an 1/8 of an inch thick. This was just a piece of MDF. You can see I have the 6 string holes cut in there, but I also V'd them. So when the string comes through the body and out of there, it's not going to hit a sharp edge of the piece of wood, but it's going to lay in a nice little V as it travels up towards the pneumatic bridge. I've got my screw holes cut into here. This is going to be a removable part. And which will make it easier for finishing, I think, the guitar, because if I had to sand all up around this with that bolted down to the guitar, that would make it hard to do. So I kind of like the fact it's going to be removable. And you can see in there, I've also got Stingray written in there too. And that's where this thing got really tricky. So whether you're cutting a smallish piece like this with some intricate detail in it, or you're cutting a large body piece or whatever on a CNC machine, the process is exactly the same. You go through the same design process, you go through the same process of creating G-code, sending it to the machine. Where it gets tricky is when you're cutting different things of different shapes and sizes and different levels of intricacy, you have to change all the parameters of what you're doing. You have to slow it down, speed it up, make it cut shallower passes, just whatever it's going to take, depending on the material you're using and what you're trying to do with that material. So this guy here was sort of a piece of cake. I mean, it just went, I already had it designed and everything, and just running it on the machine, it took maybe 5 minutes or less. It had, just 3 different, I had the drilling operation, I had my chamfer operation, had my profile operation, and then I had the V-carve operation where I cut in the Stingray. And that was pretty much a piece of cake. I mean, it went without any hitches whatsoever. The part I had trouble on was trying to cut the inlay that's going to be, because I want to do the inlay out of, I was either going to do mother of pearl, which is what this is, or I was going to use some of this fake mother of pearl, which is like a pickguard material. It's just a plastic mother of pearl. I wanted to use one of those two things to do the inlay, just like I did that on my headstock up here. See that? That's a plastic faux mother of pearl inlay for my Ewor up here in the headstock. Which that was pretty easy too, because that's a much bigger piece. I'm getting into some really fine little detail here, and boy, everything changed. So I spent the entirety of the day yesterday, cut after cut after cut, trying different, can you see that? That was one of my Stingrays right there. And it didn't quite fit right. So I went through the whole thing. I mean, I can't count the times, all the different trials I did, and it was a struggle for sure, but I learned a lot during the whole time. And this is what I finally wound up with, and I think that's going to be a good one. So let me show you what I have here. So this is a piece of a 1/4 inch maple that I had left off from another guitar build. And what I wound up doing was I had to, up here you can see a little blank that I have on there. I had 2 of these glued on here since I was gluing it. So that's just a piece of the faux mother of pearl. It's a 1/2 inch wide and 2 inches long this way. And I had 2 of them glued on there thinking, well, if one of them fails, I just cut this off and I have the next piece ready to go, which is what we're going to cut into this time right now here. So one of the things I discovered was I had been sticking my pieces of material onto the backing. I was using MDF and I was using double-sided sticky tape. When you start getting down into cutting letters that big and they're cut off of the main sheet, there's no way that that double-sided sticky tape or the CA glue trick works on that. So I wound up having to glue the plastic right to the piece of wood, which has a much better bond. And I'll tell you what, it will still flick those letters off of there when you're cutting. So I had to slow the speed way down. I cut it at, I think I was cutting at 10 inches a minute to slow it down enough, which we're going to go ahead and cut this one again in a second. But basically what I wound up doing is, to put it in a nutshell, I glue my piece of plastic onto this piece of wood, and then I use the 2 pieces of masking tape and glue, and I glue this down to my CNC machine, and I put a clamp on it too just to hold it in place. And then I use my CNC machine to cut out the letters, and that's in a reverse pattern. So then it'll flip over and fit right in the correct facing pocket. I call this side, the female side, I call it the pocket, and I call this side here the plug in doing this V-carve. And anyway, I get into these explanations. I think I'm doing a terrible job, but I just kind of wanted to give you a little, tell you what we're about to do on the CNC machine. And anyway, so let's get on over there. We're going to cut this guy off, and we're going to see if we can't cut out another one of these things just to see how we do. And then we'll move on and we'll start making this piece right here. Okay, so that thing just got finished up, and it looks to me like it did not work. Let's see. Nope, sure didn't. Look at that. It just chewed the thing up. So, though I got one good one out of this, I think that's all I got. I think I'll be able to use the other one, but this one is no good. So, I'm still searching for the right thing to do. Okay, well that was definitely a bit disappointing. I just learned once again something that isn't going to work. But anyway, no big deal. I've still got the one I made yesterday that for some crazy reason it worked out. That one worked. The new one didn't. But anyway, I've got that. So, and while that was running, I went ahead and got this piece of zero coat ready. I got it thinned down to an 1/8 inch, and I've got it stuck on this piece of backer board, which we're going to keep on until the thing is completely done. But anyway, let's go ahead and get this guy down in the CNC machine and do the rest of the milling operations on this. Okay, I think that came out pretty good. Let me give it the test here. Let's see if this guy's gonna drop down in there. Okay, it does. There's a bit of a gap in there. The only thing I could do here is stick some glue in there and clamp it in, let it dry, and see how we did. Nice, I think that came out really cool. Man, that was a lot of trouble, but that sure looks cool though. Next time I'm gonna have to come up with something with a bigger font for sure. Okay, so that guy came out really cool. I'm very pleased with that. Even the Stingray came out really cool in there too. So that's gonna be tough to do. I'm definitely gonna have to change it up next time. But anyway, now that that's out of the way, the next two things I want to do is my little medallion cover, which is this round guy up here, and my control cavity cover, which is the guy back here. And so I've got this piece of cherry. I'm going to make both of those out of cherry. I got this piece of cherry here that'll big enough to fit both items out of it. But we need to go ahead and thin it down because both those are going to be 3/16 of an inch thick. And so let me go ahead and take this down. We'll plane off the backside so we got two nice finished edges, or faces rather, and now we're going to start working away on the CNC. Okay, so I think that came out really good. I don't believe I cut quite all the way through it, but I think that's close enough. I could probably knife that off now. And anyway, I think that looks good. I like to recess it here in the middle just to give a little extra room for the controls. Some of those, the three-way blade switch, for instance, that sticks up pretty high. I just like to give as much room as possible in there. But anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and get this guy popped out of here. And then I've got enough room up here to do my truss rod cover deal up here in this corner. So I'm going to get this set up on the CNC and start working on that. Okay, so I'm going to change out this 1/8 inch bit. I've got my piece of material glued down, stuck down with some tape and CA glue. And this is going to make my little medallion, my truss rod cover here. And I cut this 2 inches wide, so I've got it one operation on this side. I'm going to use my V-carve bit to do the S I'm going to do on this. and then I should be able to pop it off, flip it over, and line up this bottom edge on my piece MDF and this edge over here, and the other side should remain center too, which is where I can cut the magnet holes and cut the profile and all that type of thing. So I'm going to put my V-bit into here. This is a 30-degree V-bit. Reset the Z height, and then V-carve my S into this thing. I'm going to go ahead and glue my piece of faux mother of pearl here right to my little piece of MDF. And what I'll do then, after it's all said and done, I'll cut this out and I'll remove the plastic from it. All right, folks, well, that brings us to an end of another exciting episode of Ewor Guitars struggles with something else. If it wasn't for the struggles, I don't know what I'd do. But I do think it all came out really cool, though. I love the way that little tailpiece deal came out, even with the trouble it was. And my back plate cover here, I got it just on with a little double-sided sticky tape. But I think the reveal is really nice round, and I think once a little finish gets in there, it's going to be a perfect fit. And this guy here, I'm happy with the way the S came out and everything, but I'm not happy with the color and the size. I'll probably redo that in a piece of, I've got another piece of that Zero Coat here. I'll do that, and I might do like a sunburst or something on it instead of the S. But anyway, overall, I'm quite pleased with how everything came out. So anyway, glad you all stuck around and checked it out. Next week, we're going to get into the finish sanding and start prepping. We may even get into some Simtex sealer work on this thing too. So anyway, oh, and I wanted to mention something too. A few weeks back when I was struggling cutting my my fret slots, and I commented that the bits I use are 43 bucks a piece. I get a man of bits, and somebody commented that on eBay there was a really good deal on them. So I looked it up, and sure enough, I bought 10 bits, 0.023 diameter spiral bits for like 20 bucks. I think with shipping it was 30 bucks. So I got plenty of bits to practice with now to get to dial in my speeds and feeds and figure out how to cut fret slots really well. And when I do figure it out, I'm going to bring it back to you and show you all how to do it. So anyway, I appreciate you all sticking around and checking out my video. If you dug it and it's your first time, how about you give me a like and maybe even a subscribe if you'd like to see some more of this. Anyway, I hope to see you all back in the next video next week. In the meantime, God bless you, and you all have a wonderful week.